Well, we need to remember our Lord's words, be not afraid. Fear not, I have overcome the world. Be of good cheer, I have overcome the world. Today, family life is under attack, right? With divorce at will, no-fault divorce, abortion, pornography, the LGBT agenda, and all these things are combining to attack the family, and often our families feel beleaguered. They don't know which way to turn. But we have to be willing to be witnesses, to be martyrs. The word martyr means a witness. We have to witness to the Church's teachings, not only her doctrinal teachings about God and the sacraments and so forth, but also her moral teachings about what constitutes a God-pleasing family life. So we have to, as priests, we have to encourage our faithful and we have to instruct them. That's why this topic of family life is very important for our video series, because this is one of the key areas we really have to encourage our families. And we have to give them a bright vision we have to give our young people a bright and encouraging and courageous vision, an uplifting and ennobling vision of family life. Not to always be negative. Don't do this, don't do that. We're afraid of this, we're afraid of that. We have to hold up the positive and heroic vision and the happy vision of a true family life.
Many family people, or adults, parents, are giving up. They're saying that that the attacks are so fierce, or the burden to be a Christian family and construct and preserve a Christian family, it's almost impossible.
Well, first of all, I tell people, don't say all these negative things in front of your children. So many times I've heard parents say in front of their little children, oh, I'm terrified. My children are going to have a horrible life when they grow up. They'll never get married. They're going to fall away from the church. They say this in front of their children. So this lack of courage, this lack of faith, this lack of hope gets imparted to the children. So parents have to force themselves, first of all, even if they're having these thoughts, not to constantly articulate them in front of the children. It's a terrible mistake.
Sometimes parents do that, I think, often, so that children will hear it and say, no, mommy, no. They think that there's some kind of a reinforcement.
Yeah, well, it doesn't usually work that way. It just makes the children depressed. And we have to remember that marriage is a holy mystery. There's a connection between marriage and the sacramental grace that's in the church. When the priest crowns us in holy matrimony, God imparts to us a grace to carry on with our vocation, to do what needs to be done, to stay together, to have children, to rear the children in godliness. We have to call more upon God to energize this grace within us. We don't believe enough, we don't have enough faith and enough hope in God. Now that doesn't mean we just tell parents or families, oh, have faith, have hope. Obviously not. That's why one reason we're doing this series, because we plan to give very concrete suggestions and give concrete answers to parents. And we hope to encourage families to communicate more with each other and share their answers, share their concerns, share their strengths with each other. We can't be isolated. We can't be alienated. If the enemy separates us and isolates us, St. John the Latter says, the demons want to take you off in a corner and eat you like a dog with a bone, right? So we have to encourage our families to communicate with each other, and the pastors of the church have to constantly be teaching the families what is the teaching of the church, and then practically, how can we put it into practice today?
What is the purpose of the family, primarily?
The purpose of the family is our salvation. A young person comes to me and says, how do I find a spouse? I say, pray to God to give you the person that's for your salvation.
The person that's going to be the soldier in the foxhole.
In the foxhole with you, right. If you're back-to-back in the foxhole, who would you want to have back-to-back in the foxhole with you when the Antichrist comes, basically?
Fighting the enemy today.
Fighting the enemy today. Yeah. Who's the person that's going to stick with you through thick and thin? Who's the person, above all, who shares the Orthodox vision of what family is, of having children, rearing them in godliness, living not for oneself but for another. A big problem is that we accept the paradigm of companionate marriage, or the purpose of marriage is just to get together and make each other happy in a worldly sense. That's not the purpose of marriage. Marriage isn't some self-fulfillment trick from a self-help book, right? Marriage is the path of the cross. We're crowned with the crown of the martyrs. So God may send us a very unpleasant person to marry.
One of the times that you go around the Holy Gospel, the hymn is for the Holy Martyrs.
For the Holy Martyrs, that's right, the 40 Martyrs of Sevastia.
Because a good marriage can be a martyrdom.
A good marriage will be a martyrdom.
Some practical suggestions?
Some practical suggestions. We'll go back, everyone should go back and read the text of the marriage ceremony. If you don't have one, go ask your priest to photocopy it from the Evkologion and give it to you. It's also online if you just search for the Hapgood service book and then just scroll down to the marriage ceremony. You can read it and remind yourself of what the blessing God gave you, the vows you made, and the purpose of why you're doing it. So that's square one. Go back and remember why we did this. Another thing I want to recommend, especially for parents concerned about raising their children, there's a great collection. It's a very inexpensive little book. It's called Raising Them Right. Some people at Conciliar Press years ago took selections from Théophane the Recluse's Path to Salvation, the sections about childhood and adolescence, and they reprinted it in a little volume called Raising Them Right. You can get it, go online, you can get it very inexpensively, and it's a wonderful recapitulation or summary of the Orthodox understanding of the psychology of childhood and adolescence, just as a starting point. It's amazing, really, how relevant and contemporary it still is. Okay? And another is that we just have to pray together as a family. You know, that sounds, priests are always saying pray, pray, pray. Well, the priests say that for a reason. I remember reading the correspondence of the Elder Macarius of Optina. It's published by St. Vladimir Seminary Press, Letters of the Elder Macarius of Optina. And a woman was complaining about her husband. And he said, pray together with your husband every day. Just pray with him every day. The devil cannot separate people who pray together every day. And it's something so simple, but we take for granted. So gather the children together, go in front of your icons, light your incense, open the prayer book, and you don't have to know you don't have to be a trained chanter, you don't have to know all the theology, just start reading the prayers, and they have self-acting divine power. And the children, and also ask forgiveness. At the end of every day, mom and dad, children ask forgiveness of each other.
Maybe in the next program you can teach us or teach our viewers how to find a spouse.
More of the practicality of all these things. So remember,
these requirements, this what you're asking here, sounds like it's very difficult to find a person who can help us do that kind of.
We know it's difficult. Every pastor, every parent knows it's hard for the young people today, and we'll talk about that. Okay. But to encourage everyone, just remember the family and the home are the domestic church. We want to make every effort to turn our home into a safe, happy, Orthodox environment.